So I'd like to call the Health Committee meeting to order for the month of June. I'd like to ask Rebecca to take roll call.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Joyce?
Present.
Reedy and Collins are excused. Beston?
Here.
McLean Lane?
Here.
Miller?
Present.
Moriello?
Here.
Ward?
Here.
And Willingham. Present. 7 present.
Thank you, Rebecca. I am going to take a few items out of order tonight. We do have some discussion on local law, so I would like to respect the commissioner's time and call Commissioner Whalen up for a few items. Numbers 6, 7, and 8 we'll take out of order. We'll start with number 6. Tonight looks like we have Commissioner Whalen and Mr. Ransom Moore. Good evening. Not to hold you up, but I'll jump right into it. Number 6, authorizing an agreement with Ocean Inc. regarding the electronic medical records, electronic health records, and practice management system.
Thank you. So this is, we're requesting authorization to enter into a contract with Ocean, which is our electronic medical record provider. As of 2014, there has been a federal mandate that providers need to have electronic medical records, and this is the company that we have been working with, so we would like to continue to do so.
Thanks, Dr. Whalen. Any questions from the committee? Hearing none, can we motion made by Mr. Beston, second by Ms. Sally McLean Lane. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Number 7, authorizing an agreement with the New York State Department of Health regarding the Drinking Water Enhancement Grant Program.
Thank you. So this is another long-standing grant, a 5-year grant from April 2020 to March 2025. We're requesting authorization to enter into 5 one-year contracts. This is important for the public water system. It oversees the protection of public water systems in Albany County, approval of new municipal residential subdivisions, and approval of private non-municipal residential wells and sewage disposal systems. Excuse me.
Any questions for Dr. Whalen? Hearing none, motion made by Mr. Beston, second by Mr. Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. And number 8, authorizing an agreement with the New York State Department of Health and Health Research Incorporated regarding the expanded partner services program and amending the 2023 Department of Health budget.
Thank you. So this is a grant amount of $348,000 for the period of April through March of 2024. It is another long-standing effort that we have had within Albany County to try to engage people that are HIV positive who have lost continuity of care and re-engage them in services in an effort to decrease the spread of HIV across Albany County and improve the care of those with HIV.
Any questions from the committee?
Can I just ask a
Sure.
question?
Go ahead.
I'm just curious. Has the rate of infections of HIV, has it decreased?
Well, it certainly has decreased from when we were having more infections. I believe that the amount of infections we see in a year is around between 40 and 50, so that's pretty low compared to what it had been.
Okay, thank you.
But overall, we're really seeing higher rates of most other STDs.
Say it again?
We're seeing higher rates of other STDs, increasing rates.
Okay, any questions from the committee? Hearing none, can we get a motion to move? Motion made by Mr. Miller, second by Mr. Ward. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. I will take another one out of order only because there was a question for Dr. Whalen on one of the local laws, so I'm going to probably just introduce it. It's number 5. I'm going to have Mr. Miller ask his question, and if there's no other questions on the local laws, we'll let Commissioner Whalen go. So I'll take number 5, local law number G for 2023, local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 242 of the Albany County Code to prohibit the use of smoking and vaping of tobacco and cannabis products at county properties and in county vehicles. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I fully support this law. I've added my name to it. I haven't had a chance to talk to Allison about it yet, but while you're here, what I learned in a couple of these local laws that we have, enforcement is obviously great to have a local law, but enforcement is usually important. I didn't know how you guys were feeling about the enforcement in Section 6 being by the Commissioner of Health. And when you're done, if Allison has a way about how that would work.
Yeah, so enforcement is always really important, and I apologize that I did not have the opportunity to review in completion the local law before I came here tonight. I would say it would be problematic for us to be able to enforce that. If you're looking at the fleet of county vehicles. And I also must say, I agree with the sentiment of
Yeah.
this, certainly.
No, that's.
If you're
totally
talking about the county fleet of vehicles, it would make sense to me for it to be complaint-based. For example, if somebody was getting into a vehicle and they noticed a sense of the smell, and the smell could be traced to who used it previously, that fleet of cars is managed through HR. So that particular aspect of enforcement for that portion of things, it seems to make sense to me, and you know, I'm not speaking by any way, shape, or form for HR, but it would probably not be best for us to enforce that. Other violations, again, I think they would likely be complaints-based, and you know, it just is, it's difficult to figure out how we would do that. We don't have staff to do that. So, you know, even the process of investigating a complaint, we need to kind of give some more consideration to. But practically, I will say right now, we don't have a way of doing it.
Thank you. We can continue it with Allison, or just, you know,
Right.
I think we got what we needed out of Dr. Lynn.
And if there are, for the other local laws, if there's any questions for Dr. Whalen, maybe we just put them in writing as we pursue these. So thank you, Dr. Whalen.
Thank you so much, Chairman.
Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're still on number 5. Ally, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, I wanted to include cannabis specifically into our sort of vaping and tobacco policy all in one. I do agree with Dr. Whalen. I think that we could do something else. And I do like her idea of the complaint-based. And maybe that complaints, you know, any complaints can just be, you know, offered to the head of whatever agency has the oversight of whatever that property is. And we can go from there. But obviously, I am open to everyone's suggestions. We had some great suggestions last night on another piece of legislation that I'm already taking into consideration. So please, your suggestions are very welcome.
So I just want to follow with that, so like I said, unfortunately, we didn't get to talk earlier. I didn't
That's okay.
I sort of looked at it, I came in and said, oh my goodness, what about this? I think it's, whatever that process is gonna be, we really wanna make it clear, because I don't wanna sound like a broken record, but last month here, we even spoke about there's a law in schools against, you know, raping, but there's a reluctance to enforce it because it's a penalty on young people. Any local law is great to have, but if there's no teeth to it, what's the sense, right? So I think there's teeth to this for sure, but I wanna make sure whatever process we have, we can actually do it. So if, you know, Joe citizens walk in, you know, into probation or something and they're vaping, what's the process going to be to do that? You know, because that's what's covered under here, you know, or wherever they may be. So I just wanna make sure it's clear so that we can actually put the teeth in and really actually enforce it and make sure it's happening. Any of these laws that we have, so,
Got it.
thank you. Other than that, I love it.
Mr. Ward?
I too am totally in favor of this law, but enforcement of any county law is always difficult. And I'm wondering why, you know, law enforcement hasn't been included. Is there a reason?
What do you say, law enforcement
Law
hasn't been-
enforcement isn't the legal mechanism for
Well,
enforcement.
listen, I'm happy to make law enforcement the legal mechanism. I wonder if the complaint really should, you know, go to the oversight of whatever that property is, and then it's transferred over to law enforcement. I completely consider that to be a better remedy.
I mean, we have two issues that could happen here. It could be an employee,
Mm-hmm.
of which I agree with Dr. Whalen, that, you know, maybe it is an HR issue.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's somebody from the general public, you know, maybe our best enforcement tool would be law
Mhm.
enforcement. However, in both cases, they would be breaking the laws, so I don't know how you can just say, you know, it might be, I'm trying to think of the words, but an employee, you can't treat an employee.
Oh, no,
differently
you need to
than
have
general
parity.
public, I guess, that's what I'm trying to say. It's gotta be consistent.
I think also, as you know, if a member of the public, whatever it is, usually common sense is gonna say, hey, you can't do that here. They stop, it's done, it's over. It's that sort of persistent person that says, oh, too bad, or whatever. I mean, because somebody brought up earlier, Times Union, what is it now, the MVP arena?
MVP.
You know, that's a kind of facility as well. So,
Mhm.
you know, how are we gonna handle something there, you know? If, again, somebody tells them to stop and they don't, then what's the process going to be? To me, the process is gonna be huge.
Yeah,
So it can make
it's
it-
always difficult. When I was younger, I was a recreation director. We had no smoking in the parks. And every once in a while, somebody would challenge that and say, you show me the law and how to enforce it. It was a policy. So, it's the way it goes. So it does have to have teeth. We
So
are
maybe a
making-
warning system, first warning, and then if there's non-compliance, on to law enforcement?
I
That's a
think there is,
possibility.
most enforcement provisions in local law give you flexibility, am I correct? Rebecca?
Mhm,
Generally,
Yeah, so it's up to 250 or 500.
mhm.
You actually have, 250 for the first violation, so up to 250. So, there could be enforcement, which I would assume, by the way it is written, if the Commissioner of Health is the enforcement agency, would they issue appearance ticket or something?
I don't
no,
think they can.
no, they can't issue appearance tickets. What they would impose a civil penalty, that's why it's a civil penalty, it's a
Okay.
different mechanism.
Yeah.
Anytime you involve law enforcement, it kind of escalates, which is why we defer to Commissioner of Health in this instance, because the minimum you can have is a violation, and a violation is something that is punishable by up to 30 days in jail, potentially, or like
Sure.
$1,500 or
Yeah,
something.
it's good next.
So it takes it up to that level, which we've had problems with in the past
Mhm.
for certain other laws. So it's really a balancing act, and it's whatever the sponsor would like to do ultimately.
Okay.
So one other follow-up, I don't want to keep this all night, sorry, but would that enforcement mechanism or policy practice, whatever it's going to be, would that necessarily be in the local law, or would that be something that would be done?
Enforcement would have to be in the local law.
It'd be, okay, even the process for something, how that's gonna be, like a complaint system or whatever, should be in the local.
Oh,
law.
it would have to be, otherwise it
Okay.
wouldn't be legal.
All right.
Would this be enforcement by the sheriff's department and all the local agencies in the county?
Well, currently, no. Currently, it's
Currently
enforced
not, no,
by,
if she
I mean,
were, if.
you can ask the sponsor to do that,
If
certainly.
Allison would add one. Allison, is this something maybe you should have a discussion with the sheriff about?
I think so,
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
My experience with the police department is not gonna work.
Mhm.
I don't think they want to be showing
You're
up
not gonna-
necessarily
unless you
to be
take it by
doing
the
stuff
hand
like
and say,
this.
so-and-so's doing
Yeah.
it, not gonna work.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're used to state laws, they're used to local laws, but
Mhm.
most of them, unless they're the sheriff department, don't look at the county laws if you're talking about local. In some of our county parks are in local jurisdictions.
Mhm.
So law enforcement, there's no easy way to enforce, no
Mhm.
question about it.
Well, maybe this deserves, a larger discussion. I think I'll involve just a few people to maybe come in and I'll certainly invite the members of this committee and the law committee to participate as well as it went through those committees, is going through those committees. To maybe make some tweaks to it to ensure that we're not going to, burden, like, I think that person was smoking. We don't want to get involved in something like that. So why don't I, sorry, I'm a little under the weather. I don't really want to, overburden anyone. So, but also, I really don't think it's appropriate. I mean, I walk through the walkway to the MVP parking lot on a daily basis. People are in there smoking weed every single day.
Yeah.
It's very challenging, and it makes people not want to use it.
Yeah, that's the issue, so. I apologize.
It's like, I call it walking the gauntlet.
Yeah, I didn't mean to delay it, I apologize.
Oh, no,
I
do
think
not.
that part's really important. so.
I think it's very important and no apology necessary.
No, I'm in favor of the.
No, I
the
think
intent.
everybody is.
The enforcement is always.
It's just
difficult.
getting- it's just making
Any local law
it
we've
go.
ever passed has been difficult to enforce.
We do have a question from Ms. Willingham.
Okay, so I'm looking at the enforcement and the penalties. And it says, shall be subject to the imposition of a civil penalty by the Commissioner of Health. Of Ms. Jessie. Okay, so maybe I didn't hear everything you all said, but how do you get to that?
It would have to be based on a complaint, necessarily.
That was the part of the discussion, that was, how can we change that to
Well, it doesn't,
tighten that up?
well, it doesn't need to be tightened up per se. As long as the Department of Health gets information about, and how else would they accept a complaint? Obviously, no one's self-reporting that they're smoking pot in the corner. So it has to be complaint-based on this basis, in the same way that, writing a ticket would necessarily be, it has to be based on the personal observations of the police officer. It would be based on the personal observation of someone who reports it to the Commissioner of Health to then impose a civil penalty.
I mean, a lot of our cases, it may involve one of our security
Mhm.
personnel. It's
So,
something we ought to think
You're
about.
saying, like, John Q. Citizen would come forth and say, I saw so-and-so, or I was in the car with them, or whatever, because I guess this does apply to employees.
Well, if it was in the
also.
car, then it would be an employee, yeah.
Right, so since this it applies to employees also, okay? And, I'm just wondering, you're calling these violations, so how does that affect someone's, job?
It doesn't, this is not an actual violation. The way it's written currently, it's a civil penalty imposed by the Department of Health. So whereas if law enforcement were involved, that would be an appearance ticket, which would be an actual violation, which has a criminal remedy. A violation is not technically a crime in the same way that a misdemeanor or a felony is. It's the next level down, so it doesn't necessarily, a violation in the criminal sense could affect your job. It could affect it because it would show up potentially on your criminal record. In the same way, like if you had something dismissed or something like that. So this is an effort to avoid that. A civil penalty is nothing unless you don't pay it and then judgment is sought or something like that.
It's like
So,
Spectrum.
yeah,
You
I
didn't
mean,
pay your
it's the
Spectrum
same
bill.
as not paying any bill in that instance. I mean, we could seek judgment, but the likelihood of that is slim to none.
Okay?
Any other questions for Ms., this has got to be tabled, right? So we have the public hearing we still have to schedule first. So we will be tabling number 5.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions for Ally while we have her? Actually, you're on the committee, so don't worry.
Yeah, so I'll be here all night.
So, all right, so we're going to be tabling number 5. Yeah, we can table 3 now too, because that also has a public hearing attached to it, so we'll table 3 and 5. I am going to start back to the top of the agenda because of my rush to expedite Commissioner Whalen. I skipped right over approving previous meeting minutes.
Is that tabled at the request of sponsor, or do we need
Which one? Two?
number 3?
Oh, 3,
The
yeah.
public hearing for G. Is that what you wanted to do, or did you want to move
Yes,
it out
yes,
tonight?
yes. Let's table it and make sure that we get it right.
Okay.
Actually, one, I haven't approved previous
Oh,
meeting
you're
minutes. So, can I get a motion to approve previous meeting minutes by Mr. Ward, second by Ms. Willingham? Number 2, under current business, public. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
It's scatterbrained here, we're jumping all over the place. Sorry about that.
So do we have this in here twice? Is that what I'm looking at?
Well, you have-
Probably because for one, it's attached to both the public hearing and separately, it's the local law. Because it gets listed twice like that and it automatically gets tabled as on the local law. So it probably is in there twice,
So the
yes.
first one, that I, the two, I mean, what's the number? So
Number 2 is local law F.
is, right, it's local law F,
That's
which is
the,
on page, starts on 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then G,
is the one we just discussed and was tabled.
Which was 3 and 5.
so we have, okay. Got F and G, and then we start with F again.
Yeah, because
Okay.
2 and 3 are the public hearings for F and G, and then 4 and
Right,
5 are
right.
the local laws themselves.
Right.
Yep, I know it gets complicated, and confusing.
All right, I'm with you.
So we're tabling, just so I know. So 2 and 3 are the public hearings, 4 and 5 are the actual local laws.
No,
We're tabling
2
both.
we haven't done yet.
Right, I know.
We're still
He's just
discussing.
clarifying.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just understanding whether or not we're going to be tabling both F and G. The local laws.
Yep,
public
4 and
hearings.
5 are both getting
Okay,
tabled pending
perfect.
public hearing, or tabled at request of sponsor for the second, because the number 3 was tabled.
Okay. So moving back to number 2, public hearing on proposed local law, number F for 2023. This is the public hearing on local law, County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 106 of the Albany County Code, setting forth requirements for location of substance abuse treatment facilities within Albany County. And this, we just need do we have a date for this yet?
I think it's on
Oh, is
July 24th.
We will, so this is the public hearing for number 4, which is the actual local law. We can actually get to that, to table it. Yeah, we'll talk, you can ask questions about it, so let's just move the public hearing out. Can we get a motion to move?
Can I just ask a question on local law, or do you want me to wait until we go?
Okay, so let's wait, let's just move the public hearings out, then we'll wrap up
Yeah.
number 4.
All right, I'll move the public hearing.
Second.
Do you want us to summarize the changes that were made to the local law last night?
Oh, yeah,
Before, in case people have a concern
Oh, they
about
are
moving
not
out the
here?
public hearings? They're not in there because it was just done last night at
Oh,
law.
okay,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
way to answer a question.
So the changes that were made in section 3 to remove a copy of the application, instead they would just send a notice of the application, which is a much shorter document they would send that regular mail along with an email follow-up, which includes a link to the full application so people can see it. So that would be done regular mail with email follow-up in lieu of certified mail in both instances. And I
Which
think
law
that
is
was
this?
F, the substance abuse treatment facility.
Please.
My only question was, should we send it to the school boards too, as they are the governing body?
I did have it going to the superintendent, but, you know, I'm,
Sometimes they don't talk. That's
somebody,
why I
you know
said-
what, I think you are correct about that.
School boards are the ones that are closest to
They're
the
the
people.
elected officials, you know what, I have no problem adding them in, I really don't. If they're within 1,500 feet, they're going to be impacted in some level, especially if they're in a highly trafficked area, because it is a high-impact facility.
So that was actually gonna be my other question, because we have the principal, not the superintendent, in number 6.
Oh, shouldn't it be principal or superintendent?
It just says principal.
Oh, that's right, I chose principal because sometimes that school, like the superintendent, it's, you know, the school could be like North Colony or Bethlehem, it's a whole bunch of locations.
Yeah,
At the principal of that actual school.
yeah.
Now, that is only one individual, so I do agree with Sean's
Yeah.
comment that maybe it should go to the school board.
Yeah, I think they have the superintendent too, I mean, because it's,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm
think
not
so.
against
I
the
agree.
principal per se, but
Oh,
ultimately
no,
the
I
principal
agree with-
responds, the
I
superintendent's
agree.
responsible for the district, the principal's really
Mhm.
not, so the superintendent's the only one who can speak to the district, not the principal.
Got it.
So I'd prefer the
Okay.
superintendent.
Send it to all.
If this moves out.
Any other questions?
Because the way it works in schools, the principal's gonna tell the superintendent anyway, and they have to turn it right back to them, so just go right to the street.
Well, that's what we'll do.
And
We'll
if they
include the
don't,
two.
then somebody's gonna say, why didn't?
Why didn't you say
Why
something?
Get the
didn't-"
principal in trouble.
That happens too, so covering it all.
Okay, any other questions on number 2, on the public hearing? Hearing none, can we get a motion? Motion made by Mr. Miller, second by Mr. Ward, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Okay, number 3,
She's still doing that.
the public hearing too?
Yeah, I believe.
Well, we want to figure out some of those
Okay,
changes
I
on
didn't
the
know if we were
enforcement.
gonna, sometimes we don't want
So,
multiple
you know,
public hearings.
I would
Okay.
very much like to come back next month with a
Okay,
completed
that's fine.
piece that everybody feels comfortable with.
Okay, so we will not have a public hearing on local law, it's been tabled on request of the sponsor. Number 4, tabled on request of the sponsor, correct?
And public hearing.
Or-
Same.
And number 5, we've already tabled, so,
We're being
That's it.
complicated tonight.
I know, sorry about that,
No, that's fine. It's not you.
but, can we get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ward, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.